Hey, my name's Brian, and this is Chords on the Couch. Today, we're going to learn the Cheers theme. This song is so nostalgic for me, but it's also great for technique. It features things like chord changes, alternate picking, and it may even introduce chords you haven't seen before. To truly be accurate, you want to play the song with a capo on the first fret. But today, for the lesson, we're going to leave that off just to make things easier. But if you learn the song and you want to play along to the theme, just put the capo on the first fret and use the chords and techniques that we learned today. So the intro uses just two chords. So the first one's going to be an A chord. And I recommend using the back three fingers for this. It's going to make the next change a lot easier. The second chord is actually kind of an E chord with A in the bass. So we're going to still strum all 5 strings, just like we did on the A chord, but we're going to grab the second fret of the D string, and we're going to grab the first fret of the G string, and everything else is open. Just remember, only 5 notes. So the exact same amount of strings and the exact same strings as the A chord. So we've got the A, and then the E with A in the bass. Now to get the intro right, what you want to do is you kind of have 2 options. You can just strum it. So you could do 1, 2, okay? And what I'm doing on that second chord is I'm strumming and then I'm muting really quick with the palm of my hand. Sometimes I even use these 2 fingers that I have free on that second chord because I'm only using my other 2 fingers. So what you can do is strum, 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 mute. So that'll sound cool enough. If you want to be a little more accurate to the piano riff, you can pick the notes of the A chord. So that'll look like this. So you can see I'm using alternate picking. Down, up, down, up. So strum, alternate picking. And then I've got that chord where I cut it off with a mute. Sounds really cool if you get it right, although it will take some practice. Now the verse is just 2 chords, probably the easiest part of the song. So that's going to be A and E. And you're just going to do 2 strums each. The strumming to this song is really straightforward in most parts. Okay, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, before I demonstrate with some singing, I do want to say my singing is not up to par right now due to some vocal issues, but that shouldn't impact your learning. Just wanted to get that out there. My apologies. And now with some singing so you can see how the chords fit with the melody. Making your way in the world today takes everything you've got. And you're basically going to play 2 A's and 2 E's 4 times, and that'll complete the verse. Next is the pre-chorus. So let's talk about the first 2 chords. So the first chord is actually an E minor. Okay, so we've actually gone from E major to E minor, which is kind of cool and interesting. But we're not going to play the E minor in the standard position. It's a little too vanilla, a little too stable and boring. We want to try something a little more interesting for the listener. So we are going to do an E minor chord inversion. Now, if you've never seen inversions before, it's basically just playing the chord in a different way to where it's less stable and it sounds more interesting. Okay, so this one is going to be fingered like this. So 3rd fret of the low E string is your first note. A string is muted naturally by the meat of your middle finger. Okay, so just let that thing hang over naturally and touch the A string. Your next note on the D string is the 2nd fret, okay? And then the last note that you're gonna fret is the 4th fret of the G string. And then the B and E can be open. This is a really kind of dark, mysterious chord that adds some tension and, like I said, interest. So you're just going to strum that twice. 1, 2, and then we're going to move to an F sharp major bar chord. And you're going to strum that twice. Now, if the bar chord is a little too difficult, I want to give you another option. You can just strum the bottom 4 strings. And what I do is I just let my pointer finger, kind of like the muscle of my pointer finger, just rest on the top 2 strings like a pillow, and it just mutes them. And then I can strum everything and I don't have to worry about like picking the wrong note. So that's another option for the F sharp. Let's hear those 2 together. Really cool. And then we're going to move to a B minor chord. Okay, so that actually kind of looks and feels almost identical to the F sharp major chord. So everything's going to move down 1 string. And we're going to strum 5 strings. Same thing goes here. If you can't get the full bar, it is cool to just kind of relax your pointer finger a little bit and just strum the bottom 4 strings of the chord. And I'm muting the 1st string. Okay, so let's hear that those 3 chords together. So the B minor chord gets 4 strums. Now let's hear that with some lyrics to give you some context. Wouldn't you like to get away? Okay, the last part of the pre-chorus, right, just before we get into that famous chorus, is going to be a really interesting chord. This is one of those chords that you may not have seen before, just like the E minor inversion. So what it is going to be a D chord, okay? But what you're going to do is you're actually going to take your pointer finger and you're going to do sort of like a small bar, and you're going to smush it across the 2nd fret of the D string and the A string. Okay, so it's like a D chord, but instead of letting that open D string ring, you're going to grab the 2nd fret. Strum that 4 times. This is where they say that famous line, sometimes you want to go. So we're going to strum it 2 times, and then we're going to come in with the singing. Sometimes you want to go where everybody knows your name. All right, so you may have seen me play a little bit of the chorus there. I just did that for context. So let's move to the chorus. Now, the first part of it is pretty straightforward. It's just an A chord, it's a G chord, and a D chord. All right, let's talk a little bit about them. I do recommend doing the A chord, doing this kind of pointer push version of it. Okay, so just smushing your pointer finger across the 2nd fret of the D, G, and B strings. If you can get the posture right, you can often get the open 1st string and it sounds really nice. But if you mute that, it's fine. That is just fine. That's going to work great. The next one is going to be a G. And this one's up to you. I like to do a G with that pairing of 2 fingers on the 3rd fret of the B and E strings, okay? And then my middle finger goes here. You can do the middle finger mute of the A string if you want. That's called a G5. It's a little more open sounding. Or if you do want to put your pointer finger on the 2nd fret of the A string for a chord that's a little fuller, you can do that too. So that's up to you. Now the final one is just a D, okay? But the reason I like to do this G okay? And it's the one that I teach. I don't like this one here where your ring finger's on the first string, because what happens is when you go from this G, okay, to this D, watch my ring finger. See, it never had to move. It's already there. And a lot of times with guitar, it's about preparation. And this is called a pivot finger. So if you do your G like this, and you've got your ring finger on the 3rd fret of the B string, watch when I go to the D. Everyone can come off, exaggerating, and then come down on the D. And the chord change is way smoother that way. So A is going to get 2 strums, G is going to get 2 strums, and so is D. So, where everybody knows your name. Now we come to that famous piano lick that is so cool and interesting. And the way you play it on guitar is you're going to go E major, and then we're just going to call this an F minor chord. I think it's got a much more exotic name, but there's no need to get into that. Basically what you're going to do is middle finger on the 2nd fret of the low E string. And once again, we have that pairing of your ring finger and your pinky. They're going to go on the 2nd fret of the D and G strings. So here we are again, we're skipping the A string and we're muting it with the meat of our middle finger. If it sounds, it's okay, but just naturally you're probably going to mute it. And you won't even know it. I'm muting it there and you can't hear it, okay? So that's our 2nd chord. Now let's take a pit stop for a second and look at how those 2 chords connect. Now what's really cool is the ring finger never has to leave its position. So it's a lot like the D to the G. This is a pivot finger, all right? And this preparation is going to help you a lot. It's going to help you play this part much more smoothly. So E to F sharp. And if you notice this little transition too, pointer to pinky, that's a big one. All right, if you pay attention to those 2 things, you can make this chord change really smooth. Now the last one, we just do have to do some shimmying around, but what's going to happen is one key part to this is your pinky will slide up. All right, so at least your pinky doesn't have to switch strings. While that slide is happening, your other fingers should reposition. So I'm on the F sharp, my pinky slides up, and I start to reposition and get ready for this inversion. This is actually another inversion. All right, and let's look at the other notes. So we know the pinky's on the 4th fret of the G string. Your next note is going to be the 2nd fret of the D string, and then your ring finger is going to get the 4th fret of the low E. And guess what we're muting? We're muting the A string with the meat of our ring finger. And you want to make sure on this one that you get the 2 high B and E strings open. So make sure your finger posture is correct on this one. Okay? This transition from the F sharp to the E inversion is going to be a little bit tricky. It will take some practice. But once you get that slide going, right? Once you go from here to there, it's going to start to smooth out and your hand is going to start to remember where to go. Okay? So these 3 chords together will sound like this. Now this leads back into the A major chord, and this is why I had you do the pointer press, the smush, because going from here and jumping everyone to grab this or whatever other A you like to do is probably going to be a little clunky. Going from here to here is much easier. Your pointer is already kind of hovering over exactly where it needs to be. All right, so that's why I recommend doing this A. So, where everybody knows your name, and they're always glad you came. That's how that part should sound. Now, if that's way too difficult, I totally get it, okay? So another option is to do this. E, F sharp, and then go right back to E. Okay, since this third chord is just an inversion of a regular E major chord, you could just play an E major chord, okay? And that option is always available to you. So you could do it like this. Okay, it won't sound quite as good, but it'll pass most tests. Let's talk about the second half of the chorus. So we're looking at two chords here, C sharp minor and D. Okay, so C sharp minor, obviously it's another bar chord. If you don't like that, or the pressure is too difficult for you, I would recommend just maybe doing the bottom 4 notes. If you can do that. Now, this part's pretty straightforward. It's just 2 strums on the C sharp and 2 on the D. Repeat. Now, the third time is going to look pretty similar. 2 strums on the C sharp, and you're going to do 1 on the D, and then the last one, you're going to grab our D chord with E in the bass. So that's gonna look like this. This is the third time, and we're on the second half of the chorus, the back part. So the back part of the chorus with words and a little more context is gonna sound like this. You wanna be where you can see, our troubles are all the same. You wanna be where everybody knows your name. Now, before I move on, I want to talk about one part because it's really tricky and we have to make a critical decision. So what happens is the chorus has 2 sections, okay? Where everybody knows your name, and they're always glad you came. And then it's got the second part. You want to be where you can see, okay? But if you notice, the walk up, that's really difficult to do, okay? Going from this inversion to a full chord here is tough to do. Now, if you can do it, more power to you. Personally, I don't, because it sounds a little clunky if I try to grab that chord. So what I'm gonna do is, instead of grabbing and strumming the entire chord, I'm just gonna grab the bottom note of that C sharp minor chord, okay? And then on the second strum, I'm gonna strum the rest of it, all right? I'm making a compromise, but I think it's a reasonable one, all right? It's gonna keep the song sounding smooth, and it's probably gonna reduce the chances that I'll make a mistake. So we can say, where everybody knows your name, and they're always glad you came. You wanna be where you can see. Okay, so I went from the E inversion to just the bottom note of the C sharp minor chord, and then on my second strum, I finish it off. I think it's a great compromise. If you listen to that part again, you kind of don't even notice it. And it actually kind of turns out to be pretty cool, because then the whole song isn't just you down strumming full chords. It's kind of interesting because it's different. So after we do the chorus, where does that lead us? Well, we're actually gonna go back to the intro part, but we're not gonna play it twice and end the song yet. It's a false finish. So we're gonna play it just one time, and then we're gonna go right back to the back half of the chorus, which starts on that C sharp minor chord. You wanna be where you can see, our troubles are all the same. You wanna be where everybody knows your name. You wanna go where people know the people are all the same. You wanna go where everybody knows your name. Now, after that one last round, no pun intended, of the second half of the chorus, we are gonna go back to the intro, we're gonna play it twice, and we are gonna finish the song. You wanna go where people know people are all the same. You wanna go where everybody knows your name. Now, at the end there, I want more finality. So I'm not just going to do our A chord that we've been doing the whole song. I'm actually going to move it up, and I'm grabbing the 7th fret of the D string, the 6th fret of the G, and then I'm doing a little bit of a bar, get the cat hair off my finger, on the 5th fret of the B and E strings. And that gives me a nice, bright, final sounding chord to finish things off. Making your way in the world today takes everything you've got. Taking a break from all your worries sure would help a lot. Wouldn't you like to get away? Sometimes you wanna go where everybody knows your name, and they're always glad you came. You wanna be where you can see our troubles are all the same. You wanna be where everybody knows your name. You wanna go where people know people are all the same. You wanna go where everybody knows your name. So there it is, the Cheers theme. Have fun practicing and playing that one. If you enjoyed the lesson, please like and subscribe. It does help a lot. And leave a comment. I'd love to hear about your memories of Cheers and what the show and the theme song mean to you. Thanks for watching.